I think Derek, I'm going to move Derek to winning.
What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with the reigning Miss Olympia champion Derek Linsford. So the more training updates Derek is posting, the more confidence different experts are gaining in their predictions. And they are putting him at their #1 spot for this year's Miss Olympia. So what is so different about Derek this year compared to the previous years? And also in comparison to some of the other guys who are potential Olympia title contenders. Well, first of all, he has been competing as a men's open bodybuilder for only 2 years. And second of all, in those 2 years, he was able to put on an insane amount of muscle. The fact of the matter is all that new muscle, that did not have enough time to marinate to properly mature. And actually that is one of the major reasons why we saw some weaknesses in his physique, especially from the front last year. But the thing is, even then, Derek was still able to win the Olympia last year, despite having all those weaknesses. And that is one of the reasons why I have been constantly saying this, that if Derek comes in improved, it isn't gonna be easy to dethrone him, even by Hadi. And also looking at all of his off-season physique updates, as well as the prep updates, one can absolutely guarantee that Derek is gonna be significantly improved in comparison to 2023. And I think we can all agree, that is a type of physique, that is a type of frame, that he can grow, he can get bigger, without having to worry about getting blocked here or blowing out his waistline. And the amount of weight Derek has been moving in these last few weeks, that has been super impressive. He has been progressively getting stronger since this prep started, and he has that skull face already, what we call the death face. I think Derek is gonna show up in the condition of his lifetime in 6 weeks' time at this year's Miss Olympia.
I think Derek, I'm going to move Derek to winning because I think Derek is going to be ridiculously good at this Olympia. I just have a feeling that he's going to be way better than last year, and just kill it compared to last year.
Reported by RX Muscle, the Persian Wolf Hadi was spotted leaving for US today to start training with his coach Hadi, hoping to reclaim the Olympia title in 6 weeks' time. So this is a great news not just for Hadi, his fans and the bodybuilding fans in general. So 6 weeks is plenty of time for Hadi to get adjusted to the new environment and bring his all-time best to the stage. And isn't that exactly what Derek wanted? He wants everyone to bring their A game, to bring their best, and then be crowned the best bodybuilder right now in the bodybuilding world. So Hadi had instances in his career where he arrived in the US just 2 days before the Olympia. So this happened back in 2020. So in a matter of just 2 days, him and Hadi were able to come up with a plan to get rid of all the water. And still Hadi placed 4th in the world. Now if Hadi was as good at the prejudging as he was at the finals of that show, he would have been for second that year behind Big Ramy. Because for those of you guys who do not know, he was able to beat both Phil Heath and Brendan Curry at the finals of that show. So this will be Hadi's second time in 1 calendar year where he's gonna train under the eyes of his coach Hadi. Because these guys got together before this year's Arnold Classic as well, and they created history there by winning both Ohio and UK for the very first time. So the unpredictability of this year's Miss Olympia, that makes it very exciting. Next up is the physique update of Tonio Mike, the guy with one of the most complete back in the men's open bodybuilding as of right now, especially as far as his upper half is concerned. So his back double biceps and the back lat spread, they will definitely become more formidable if he adds more hamstrings. So Tonio Mike was top 8 at last year's Miss Olympia, but no one in the bro chat put him in the top 10. So this alone goes to show us the depth of this year's Miss Olympia lineup, especially in comparison to what we saw at last year's Miss Olympia. The lineup this time is so much more stacked.
Do you agree if Akeem is peeled, that he will definitely,
I think he's right on the cusp in that 9-10, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he could bump someone like a Brandao if Brandau's not in great condition, because Brandau's not great from the back.
And the fact that Tonio got beat by both Martin and Rafael Brandao earlier this year, that puts him in a very difficult position. Because one of those two guys, they might not even place top 8 this year. Especially if someone like Behrouz Tabani makes it to the US. But Tonio and his coach do not listen to these predictions. Tonio has put his head down after winning this year's Cali Pro because he knew he needed to up the size game in order to go up against some of the best guys in the world at the Olympia level. So Tonio has got a great structure, bubbly sweeping quads, very small waist, great back. But if you put him next to someone like Martin, who is just a bigger version of him, and who can also bring that same level of conditioning as well, and the same level of shreds, then I'm afraid Tonio is gonna have some problems. So do you guys have Tonio in your top 10 this year? So it is that time of the year when everyone wants to make predictions. So here we have one from Terence Sofen, undoubtedly one of the best classic physique competitors, and he picks his top 5 for this upcoming Miss Olympia, with a bit of explanation. So Terence has been competing against the 5 times classic physique champion Chris Bumstead since 2017, and he knows what Chris is capable of. And there is no surprise that he puts Chris in first, and not once in Chris Bumstead's career has he struggled with making the weight cutoff. And we are always as surprised as Terence Sofen is. But the classic example here is of Flex Wheeler from his first ever Arnold Classic back in 1993, where he weighed just 218 pounds. Probably one of the greatest physiques of all time, but still he appears so much bigger and heavier. And maybe it has something to do with the bone density. So you guys can discuss this in the comment section. Now we have discussed the fight for the second spot multiple times this year, because that is the one that is gonna solidify either of those two guys as the future of classic physique. Ramon and Wesley rematch. That is gonna be one of the best battles of this year's Miss Olympia weekend. Because Terence does put up a very solid point, that although Wesley was able to beat Ramon at this year's Arnold, but that Ramon wasn't at his all-time best. So Ramon underestimated his competition big time during a very short prep, and he was missing the density and the maturity that he had at the past Miss Olympia, where he was able to push Chris Bumstead really damn hard. But despite only doing a 6 weeks of prep, and despite not being at his 100%, it was merely a 1-point victory for Wesley over him. And we all know Wesley was more than 100% in Ohio. So Terence has Ramon in second place. And if that happens, this will be Ramon's 3rd consecutive Miss Olympia, placing second behind Sebum. Now Wesley has been putting out progress pictures almost every single day. And if we look at his updates from a few hours ago, he looks absolutely ripped. He is one of the most ready guy at 6 weeks out of this year's Miss Olympia, because he is already very close to his weight cutoff. And I'm sure this won't be the case with Chris Bumstead, Ramon or Urs. So they will still have to push more in these upcoming weeks in order to make that weight cutoff. So Wesley comes in at 3rd as per Terence's pick. Brion versus Urs rivalry that has been going down for years now. And Brion was able to beat Urs for the very first time after 2 years at this year's Arnold UK. So these two guys are literally so close that anyone can place higher on a given day. So Urs Kalashinsky and Brion Ansley, they have got the most to lose this year, because based on the predictions, they are gonna at least lie down one spot, because Wesley is a major player this year. So Mike Somerfield is another name, and Terence Sofen also mentioned him in his predictions, because that is another guy who has put on a tremendous amount of size and muscle this year. So I have no idea how he is gonna make that weight cutoff. But still, I'm gonna say, that is another guy who can surprise everyone. So Mike has placed as high as top 5 at the Olympia level, while last year he dropped down to 8th. So you look at some of these pictures that Mike has put up in the last few weeks. He is so big and so dense that at first glance, you think he's gonna go to the Open. So what do you guys think of Terence's picks at 6 weeks out of this year's Miss Olympia? Pretty accurate if you guys ask me. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.